Welcome to Topic 2, Education Institutional Framework. In this session, we need to understand that the institutional framework for sustainable development should integrate the three dimensions of sustainable development in a balanced manner and enhance implementation by, inter alia, strengthening coherence, coordination, avoiding duplication of efforts, and reviewing progress in implementing sustainable development. By the end of this session, you will be able to identify all institutions in charge of education in Rwanda, describe the main responsibilities for each institution, illustrate the relationship that link one institution to another, and acknowledge the components of each institution from the highest to the lowest level of responsibilities. Institutions in charge of education in Rwanda, in a descending order of function hierarchy, include the following: Ministry of Education, Higher Education Council, the University of Rwanda, Rwanda Polytechnic, Rwanda TVET Board, Rwanda Basic Education Board, National Examination and School Inspection Authority. In this session, we have seen that the institutional framework of the Ministry of Education is for policy formulation, educational planning, coordination, and monitoring and evaluation at the national level, and is the lead ministry for the education sector with responsibility for policy formulation, coordination, and regulation through setting norms and standards for the education sector. MINEDIC has 7 agencies to provide the citizens of Rwanda with equal opportunities to high quality education through world-class learning facilities and renowned learning institutions. The education system has a centralized structure and functions under its agencies. These agencies of Ministry of Education are Higher Education Council, UR, RP, RTB, REB, NESA, and CNRU. On the other hand, the decentralized system is involving districts for monitoring and evaluation of the education implementation. We have come to the end of Topic 2. See you in Topic 3. Welcome to Topic 3, Rwanda Education Qualification Framework. We need to understand that qualifications framework describes the levels of educational qualifications and the official recognition of a person's learning achievement. It also sets the standards for qualification outcomes, which are the knowledge or skills gained by students after undergoing a certain learning or educational program. By the end of this session, you'll be able to describe the Rwanda Qualification Framework and illustrate the structure of the Rwanda Qualification Framework. Let's have a look at the Rwanda education system. The Rwanda education system has 3 categories of formal education, that is, general education, technical and vocational education and training, TVET, and professional education offered in basic and higher education subsectors. Basic education consists of adult education, pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. Adult education enrolls individuals above 15 years who did not go through formal basic education. Pre-primary education is typically designed for children from the age of 3 to 5 years. Primary education lasts for 6 years. Secondary education lasts for 6 years, 3 years for lower secondary, and 3 years for upper secondary. The upper secondary education is divided in 2 categories: general secondary education and TVET. Higher education is a post-secondary education delivered by high learning institutions, leading to undergraduate and postgraduate degree certificates. Let's look at the Rwanda Qualification Framework. It has been established by the Ministry of Education to regulate all education and training qualifications and promote and catalyze mobility and career development pathways in basic education, TVET, and general higher education subsectors. The Rwanda Qualification Framework determines the guidelines of education, training certificates, degrees, and promotes mobility and progress in formal education. The structure of Rwanda Qualification Framework consists of 10 qualification levels. In this session, we have seen that the education system is generally divided into two: basic education and high learning education. Basic education has pre-primary, primary, lower secondary, and upper secondary. Upper secondary has two sections: general education and TVET. The Rwanda qualification framework is an ecosystem of education sub-frameworks that determines the guidelines of education, training certificates, degrees, and promotes mobility and progress in formal education. In conclusion, therefore, this unit has discussed the strategic framework of education as an outcome from the commitment of the Rwandan government to the UNDP in response to the Sustainable Development Goals, especially goal number 4, quality education, which is included in the National Strategy for Transformation, NST1, and translated into the Education Sector Strategic Plan, ESSP, of 2018-19 to 2023-24. The education institutional framework describes all institutions in charge of education in Rwanda, relationships between them, and their respective responsibilities. The Rwanda Education Qualification Framework describes the levels of educational qualifications and sets the standards for qualification outcomes. Thank you for your participation in this unit. See you in Unit 2, the support of local government units for quality education promotion.